Hello everybody. Welcome to Tpull's Corner. This is Travis, and we are resuming our regularly scheduled programming for Evergreen month. We took a detour for a couple of days because I got invited to MTG's crossover with Lord of the Rings, and they had an early access event, and that was kind of fun. And if you're interested in the cards, it's a well-designed set. It's a fun set to play, but it's not standard legal. So if you want to play it on Arena only, your choices are Historical or Alchemy, and that's it. As we return to Evergreen month, what that is we take a term, either an action or ability that's Evergreen, and we build a deck around it. And in this case, the term today is mill. Mill the player. And mill is an evergreen action, but it's not a keyword like defender is. But they still make sure to define it in the upper right like they do everything else. To mill the card, a player puts the top card of their library into their graveyard. And when we started this game, the first card was Millstone, and you could only mill your opponent. Things have changed a little bit over time. We'll talk about that a little bit as we cover the deck later. But I think we just play another one of these. And we got rid of two of their flyers, which is great, and a card draw. And I don't have many flyers, so the more flyers we can knock out, the better. That also took out a card draw from each one of those. Each one of those has a gain life and draw a card. But they're all about the card draw, aren't they? Bunch of little cheap 1/1s. Which probably means they don't have a board wipe, right? So if I can get my board wipe out, we'll be looking pretty. Alright, they're maximizing their card draw, that's for sure. Well, maybe that'll help me. I am trying to mill them out. We shall see. Gives them 4-card draw with this ability that Raph has. It's not a bad tactic to draw through your deck, but at some point you have to stop drawing cards and actually do something else. This is all about draw, 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 draw. That's actually a pretty good start, right? Because our deck gives them time for that, and that gets them to draw something big and bad. But another rumor gather is not the big and bad thing that we're anticipating. They like the card on top. Okay, let's go ahead and see what they've got. A spare legendary creature, and this one they can actually do. More return still for time. Okay, I guess we just get rid of the companion, and we'll get rid of the Fairy Vandal. And I think it's okay to go ahead and mill the cards. Milled a couple lands, but we went dry on the creatures, so the whole point of that is to try and get a creature out of things. mill and discard are distant cousins because they have some of the same vulnerabilities, they have some of the same problems. They're both very land dependent, meaning if you get starved out of land at the beginning, you're really in trouble. But on the flip side, if you get flooded out and draw 3 lands in a row, you're probably going to die if you're a discard or a mill deck. You're also weak against planeswalkers to a certain degree. And under normal situations, you're a little bit at a disadvantage in terms of things on the board, because no matter how much you mill and discard, once they get things on a board and get an advantage on the battlefield, if you don't have the appropriate mix of interaction for removing their threats, getting rid of cards via discard or mill, getting rid of things that aren't on the battlefield, at a certain point becomes worthless to you if you're already at a disadvantage on the battlefield. So normally, these are not decks you take into ranked. There are some good mill decks that you can take into ranked. I don't think this is one of them, because we put together a jank deck. This is mono black milling, which I've done once before, and it worked. But it's not the premier mill cards. Alright, 8 cards, they discard their land, they see what I've got. So they knew this was coming. Got rid of 2 more of their creatures. I can't attack, I've got 3 defenders. They can turn something into a 4/5. They can tap stuff. Too bad this is a sorcery, not an instant. Do they want to try and attack now? They want to try and attack now. They're probably going to use the suit up spell. They're tapped out though, so we will use Ashnod's Intervention. That just comes right back up into our hand, and we do get rid of one of their creatures. And they just discard another land. Let's go ahead and put down a threat. And still mill them. Got rid of another flyer and another stun card. That's 2 of the stun cards down, so they probably have a couple more. There we go. How do we like their strategy? Pinging us with 1/1s. If we'd gotten a single board wipe, we would have been fine. I've got 3 board wipes in here. It would work against everybody except for the Rumor Gatherer. Oh, we got ninjutsu tricks too. Nice. They scryed and they kept it on top. I wonder if they forgot I have the Radio Sentinel. That's 6 points of damage. And they have blue, so we have to wait. We have to wait for them to make their decisions. Here we go. Here's another one. 7 points of damage. I'm not sure if they understand yet I'm a mill deck, so this is all helping me. Well, if they have that 4 stun one, maybe they can kill me next turn. They tap out again, so they got a lot of land draw because of their draw cards. They got so much, all they're doing is throwing away lands all the time. That's 9 lands they have in the graveyard, and 9 here. Okay, we get rid of some stuff from them. We'll see if they have the 4th tap card. Again, keeping the card they like on top. This is worthless to them right now. I wonder if they have 4 of those in the deck. Alright, they're going to choose what to keep and what to destroy. Oh, just need to pass to the blockers, to the blockers, to the blockers. I want those to hit me so they can draw cards. I'm expecting... Oh, hello. I wasn't expecting you to draw 2 more cards. I was expecting a spell to turn this into a 4/5, or... I should have not blocked that one, really. They're going to bring down another raft. Try and make it good. Okay, resolve all those. You got 7 cards left. Do you think you can beat me fast enough? No, they don't want to draw those. But you could put down Raph. Put down, there's another land. There we go. And they're willing to draw another card. Tapping out again, making maximum use of all of their lands. They're very good with that. Alright, what are we going to do? We are going to get rid of this guy by sacrificing our 9 vermin. And we'll target the Moon Circuit Breaker. So we get rid of 2 creatures and we only lose 1, and now we have a flyer in case they put out another flyer. We don't need to block because they've got 5 cards left. We don't need to attack with the Oil Caster. We're down to 5. Our main concern is defense. If they have a stun card, they can only stun 2 at a time. They're not going to want to draw more cards. Their strategy was about tamping down the blockers and just coming over and hitting us with these tiny, tiny creatures the whole time. But they're blue, so you gotta wait. Not scared of that. Not scared of that. Block everybody. You do not have trample. Take action. 9 vermin. My turn. Oil Caster comes down. Ah, they didn't use all their mana. They had 1 left for a change. And we mill for 2 cards. Land and a Triska Decaphile, which they could have used to win, maybe. Do they only have 1 copy of Trisky in there? I would have had more. That could have been a much better win chance for them. What do you got left in your hand? You should certainly be able to cast all of it. Sparring Overseer. And in the end, they did themselves in. Alright, the one advantage for a mill card is when you come up against a draw card deck. I love draw card decks. Possibly as much or more than I love mill and discard decks. Ah, Arizona. I wonder how many of those. I should have four of those by now, if I didn't already. Anyway, let me go in and show you this deck. That did take a while to get through, but it kind of does when you're dealing with mill decks. So we try and find the right balance. We try and find enough mill cards without them being too many so they turn into dead cards in your hand. You try and find enough interaction you can remove the opponent's threats, and you try and find enough cards that you have your own win condition if the mill's not going to do it. So we don't put all our eggs in one basket. And this is mono black, and I've done this before and it turned out okay, but I had fewer options before. I did it again because, first of all, there's the Jace card, the Jace Planeswalker, which is a much better card in terms of milling, right? And there are some other big cards that mill half your deck. I think those have been done all over YouTube up and down the board, so I wasn't too keen on doing one of those again for the YouTube audience. But very few people ever do a mono black mill deck. I did one last time. This time we didn't have the great rotation. They delayed it, so we have more cards from which to choose. So I think I had slightly more tools in the mono black toolkit in order to form this. But here's what we got. We got 4/9 Vermin. When they enter the battlefield, target player mills 2 cards. When it dies, creature you don't control gets -1/-1 till end of turn. So we're really not concerned about the 1/1 swarm decks. We feel we can handle those with things like this in our deck. We've also got 2 Flitting Gorillas. They each player mills 2 cards when they die. Then if you want, you can exile the gorilla. When you do, target creature battle card from your graveyard goes on top of your library. So if we've got some creatures in our graveyard that we want back, this is just fine by us. If they kill the gorilla, right? We'll just go get something we wanted back. We've got Ashnod's Intervention. When a creature dies or is put into exile, we return it to its owner's hand, so we can recycle our mill cards and mill them again. Bone Splinters you saw me use. We can sacrifice 1 creature, destroy a target creature, and sometimes if there's a 1 toughness creature on the field, we can kill 2 creatures for the price of 1. Or we can use Corrupted Conviction and just draw a couple cards. Both the Gnawing Vermin and the Flitting Gorilla under the right situation can be really good targets for Corrupted Conviction. But this is mostly the only draw card advantage I have in the game. 1 Cut Down for early removal. 1 Dreams of Oil, Steel and Oil in case they want to throw stuff like artifacts in their graveyard and bring them back. We can just exile them. And 1 Eaten Alive. If we can't afford the 5 mana to exile the creature or planeswalker, again, we have really good sacrifice choices there. Extract the Truth if we want to look for creatures, enchantments, or planeswalkers from their hand. If it's later on in the game and they put down a pesky enchantment, we can make them sacrifice the enchantment. We have Unseal the Necropolis. Each player mills 3 cards, then you return up to 2 creature cards from your graveyard to your hand. I put 2 of those in there because I only have 17 creatures. It's the regular 24 lands. It's just a slightly cheap deck, 2.8 converted mono value cost. So with only 17 creatures, I thought if we get them back, we renew their mill value, right? So all of these cards have mill associated with them. If they get removed, instead of having other creatures that we can bring out in their place, I'm just like, let me go get a couple of the mill creatures from the graveyard, and we'll keep milling them as we go. Here's what I was waiting for: Path of Peril. I got 3 copies in the deck. Could destroy all creatures with mono value 2 or less. That would have really given that last deck a problem because they didn't have any counter spells. But I do have a Celestis in here, so we can pay the white mana if we need to make it a full board wipe. And I do have 4 copies of Shattered Sanctum, so we're pretty much guaranteed to have the white mana if we ever need it. 1 copy of Realmbreaker, the Invasion Tree, which we can spend 2 mana and have them mill 3 cards each time, and we get a land. And I guess if we last long enough and we don't have Sheoldred out yet, we could sacrifice this and bring Sheoldred out. I have 4 Rado Sentinels. When it enters the battlefield, target player mills 3 cards, and you can put a target card from a graveyard on the bottom of its owner's library. So if there's a removal card that I want back, I can use this. Or if there's something I'm afraid they're going to bring out of their graveyard, I can take it out of their hands, if they're casting a spell even, and put it in the bottom of their library instead. 4 copies of Deal Gone Bad because target player mills 3 cards. It's not the best removal spell, but it's the only one they gave me. There you can also mill cards at the same time, so we're using it. Most times we'd be using more cut downs or more spells where you destroy non-artifact creature, or the one where you kill them and you destroy the creature and it costs you 2 life. Those are all much more effective usually, but we'll make do. 2 copies of Nezumi Freewheeler. This is for March of the Machines. When it enters the battlefield, each player mills 3 cards. 3/3 with Menace. Then you pay 6 mana and it turns into the Phyrexian Rat Hideous Flesh Wheeler you see to the right. 4/5 with Menace. And when it transforms, you can also get a card mana value 2 or less from the graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. So we can always get our gnawing vermins back easy enough with that. We've got 2 Tenured Oilcasters. It's a 2/4 with Menace. It gets +3 to its power as long as an opponent has 8 or more cards in their graveyard. You consider by the time we can afford to spend this, we need 4 mana. They probably have 4 to 8 cards in their graveyard already by the time we get to that point. If not, whenever the Oilcaster attacks or block, each player mills a card. So it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. They designed the card so it can make itself get to that +3 power point just by naturally being on the field and playing it. We have Vat Emergence. Put a target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control, so yet another way to bring a mill card back. Or the big powerful card Shieldred, we could bring that back. 4/5 Menace. I used it in my discard a few days ago because for Chapter 2 of the Enchantment Saga, the True Scriptures, each opponent discards 3 cards. But they also mill 3 cards, so that makes it appropriate for the mill deck as well. And what else do I want to say? I want to say that it's interesting to look at the wording of the rules of the mill cards versus Blue's draw cards. Here you see Flitting Gorilla. Each player mills 2 cards. Let's see, Tenured Oilcaster. Each player mills a card. On Rado Sentinel, target player mills a card, not the opponent, target player. Here's target opponent. Deal Gone Bad. Again, not target opponent, but target player mills 3 cards. And I think on here it's opponent. Yeah, each opponent discards and mills 3 cards. Here, this one, Gnawing Vermin again, the 3rd card. Instead of target opponent, it's target player mills 2 cards. And I bring this up because on the podcast for Mark Rosewater, the head designer of Magic the Gathering, he's complained a couple of times that for the Blues draw cards, it's mostly you get to draw cards. And he wants to argue more and more often that it should be target player draws cards because there are occasions where you would want your opponent to be the one drawing the cards. Think if you had a Shieldred down on the battlefield, you'd certainly, might have a strategy that involves your opponent drawing more cards. But I'm getting the sense, since he's repeating this every now and then, that he's on the losing side of the argument more and often for the blue draw cards. That more and more of what we're getting mostly when they get the finished product is you get a blue draw card and it's you that draws the cards, not a choice of the target player drawing the cards. For the mill cards, that might have been in the same boat early on, but I don't know if there's any kind of debate on that, or if he raised the same argument here in 1, or what's going on behind the scenes. But in the original days, it was just you'd mill your opponent out. Now things have changed almost 180 degrees. A lot of what people use these mill cards for is to mill their own deck to get tools into their graveyard so they can bring them out of the graveyard and straight to the battlefield. So a lot of the mill strategies now are self-mill strategies, which wasn't how the game started. And so it's interesting to see the dichotomy between drawing and milling, that drawing has this big debate going on within the company in terms of, no, we don't want to have this flexibility so that you can make the other player draw cards. The advantage is for you to draw cards. That's what draw card advantage is. With mill, it's very accepted practice when they design these cards to allow either player to mill the card, for you to direct that, to have that flexibility. So I'm not sure what that means other than the designers are thinking a certain way, and they're thinking self-mill a lot, and it makes sense for them to say, oh, we could, it could be part of a mill deck, or it could be part of a self-mill deck. And those are very common accepted strategies. But making the other player draw cards is something I've made decks around, but not very many people think in that direction. Mark Rosewater does, evidently. I think he's still trying to fight behind the scenes to get more of the blue draw cards that way. But regardless, let's move on. We've got Takenuma for a special card, 4 draw cards with the Dross Pits, and 2 Fields of Ruin. And let's see if we can mill anybody else out. We might not run across somebody else who's got a draw card deck, so it might be more difficult for us. Because I have to admit, they helped us get across the finish line. Man, did they draw more cards or did I mill more cards? I suspect they might have drawn more cards than I caused them to mill. Mill decks are very delicate. If you don't get your 3 or 4 lands early on, you're just going to fall behind way too fast. Whereas in a lot of other decks, it might be easier to catch up. Here we have a problem that we got both of... I only have 2 copies of this. I don't think I went overboard having 2. But getting them both up front is kind of an issue. We don't have much of a first mana play. I'm not worried about a haste attack from a black-red. Let's see what you got. Shakedown Heavy's gone. Invasion of Kylan's gone. It's a good start. They've got at least 4 colors, which probably tends to mean a Trax deck these days. Which also means we might have trouble. Blah, blah, blah. A little more counters. Let's let them have it for now. And hopefully they don't put more than 1 counter on it this time around. If they turn it into a 3-3 immediately, we could regret that. Well, no, because I got Deal Gone Bad. Sacrifice a creature and lose a life. Alright. Ah, Botanical. Okay, so that comes out as a 3-3. Let's play that as a regular land. Let's get rid of you now. Mill more cards. Okay, we got rid of Sunblessed Guardians, 2 of those. Yeah, let's go ahead and get rid of Kami now, too. Too dangerous to let you live long. Zona is a problem. Going straight to the face and ignoring the battle, because that gives them the invulnerable part. Let's do a Sentinel again, which we can't really use to block Rizona. But we do get rid of a Bola Slinger and another Sunblessed Guardian. Let's go ahead and mill them. And we'll go get... Let's go get a white Monosaurus. Got rid of Ishin, that's good. I really need another one of my deals gone bad. They're still just ignoring the battle. And that's a problem. Just, I think I mentioned, if you don't get your 4 lands up front, you're going to have troubles. But if you get nothing but land, that's a big problem. Three and 6. I guess I can shove some of this back into my own deck. And then... Gross. Alright. Let's go to my graveyard. Let's put Deal Gone Bad back in there. If I have a chance to shuffle the deck, I will. This is getting to be a little too much here. let's go ahead and get rid of one blocker. Let's use this now. Each player mills 3 cards. Oh, there's my Path of Peril. Shoot. What do they list? Another Shakedown Heavy, and all will be 1. Botanical Baller. Alright, 3, 6, 9. Okay, so I can put down the Celestis. We can put this down. One, 2, 3. We can put this down. 1, 2, 3. And I already put one down, right? So I can't place that. So we're done. And without my board wipe, I think I'm done for. But that was still 2 cards away anyway, right? Alright, so we choose the blockers. We block you, we block you. The next card has to be something good. That's not gonna be enough. I have 21 more cards. Did I get anybody else in here? I didn't. Okay, so if I do this now, I'm still mostly just getting that back, and yeah, this didn't work out well at all. And what can I get? Anything that gives me life? Nope, I can get an Evolving Wilds. Yeah, I think I got too much land and not enough actual spells in there. They did all this with only 5 lands the entire time. And you can see I just got a few too many lands instead of spells. So, yeah, mill decks, very delicate balance. I mean, and we used all of what we had. If we'd had more mana, we could have used it too. But as always, once they get an advantage on the battlefield, if you can't get rid of it, and we didn't have any of our interaction spells. We had 3 Path of Perils, none of those came up at the right time. We had 3 more deals gone bad, those didn't come up. For some reason, my board wipes are not coming up that much. They've yet to make an appearance. I tried to playtest it yesterday. I kept misclicking on the Path of Peril anyway. I kept hitting for the mana value 2 instead of the full board wipe. Sometimes I play when I'm exhausted and I really shouldn't. Today's playtesting has not gone well. It was sort of like that. I either get mana starved, or I only get 2 lands, or I get too many lands and I just don't get any spells. And you just really can't do that with a mill deck. You've got to keep a nice little balance going. So poison deck. And they've got stuff that they can get things out of the graveyard. So I might need to use my Sentinels to take care of that. I don't think we use Ashnod's Intervention for that, do we? We just let it die. So we'll block there. And I actually need my 4th land. Did not get it. Figures. opponent is not going to miss a land drop. Even though I mill 2. They're still going to have a land. What? Did I err? Did you seriously not have a land? They didn't have a land drop. I am stunned. But everything costs 0 to equip them, so they're going to be just fine. As if Menace wasn't bad enough, they have Flying and Menace? And that's too much for me to deal with. Now I get my 4th land when it's too late. I mean, I can get rid of this, but he's just going to put the War Whip over there and get double strike from the top. And now he doesn't need more land anyway. He can kill me just with what he's got. And you notice everything that they have outscales my deal gone bad, which is why this card is a bad deal, technically. For 4 mana, it should be -4, -4. Because the mill 3 is not sufficient. And, I mean, I can put that down, but that's a little too late. And didn't they get just the right mix? They probably have 4 of these and 4 of these, and they didn't get a whole bunch of these. They got a ton of the equipment instead. And I'm dead. Even at brass knuckles. Nice. So I knew this going into it, and this is kind of the warning of why you don't want to take this deck into ranked with you. Because people use the most efficient cards, and Deal Gone Bad is not an efficient card. But I'm playing janky, and I had a theme, and it fit the theme. So I'm sticking to the theme. It's not going to let me win a lot of games. But according to my memory, last year's Mono Black Mill deck did a little bit better than this. Which, this is kind of funny because I don't usually have a lot of 1-drops in my deck. I usually skip the first turn and go on towards 2-drops and stuff like that. And here I've got a much better mono curve than usual. But most of what it allows me to do when I have a good mono curve is I do actually spend all of my spells, and then I'm left with nothing to do but draw land cards for 3 turns. Atmosphere Surgeon. What do we want to do? I think we do Tenured Oilcaster right now. They're going to have to build up their electrostatic infantry guy faster. Oh, that's a nice card to play right then. That gets rid of my advantage with the gnawing vermin. Okay, what do we want to do? Let's try and go over their head. Come on, I let you have your turn. They're blue, so you gotta wait and let them decide what they're gonna do. They counter the spell. Okay. We fly over the head and hit you, and we'll target that creature with this creature. And we'll exile you, and we'll go get our defender back. The precious Hellraiser. Scared of you. Scatter rays don't matter. And it had to be a non-creature that they did it with, right? Okay, so let's put down the freewheeler right now. Cut down wasn't going to help me too much. Maybe I could still use the cut down on the egg. Let me go ahead and attack. That's good. I got rid of a braid, so they can't destroy another sentinel. They can now fly over my head. I am not getting any land. I need at least one more to make the deck work. I do need 5 at some point. But this is the balance I was talking about at some point. Ouch. That's a problem. There's nothing immediately they can do to me, and the essence scatters don't work. And they don't have an artifact to sacrifice to do more than 2 there. But they could do 2 there and 3 there to take out one of those. That's tapped. Alright, well, I can still play a spell. They may be looking at Essence Scatter, but the red glowing outline tells you, because of Lear, that you can't have any counterspells. So, we mill them. And all we do is throw more stuff into their graveyard that they can use against us. Because Lear provides all that value. And we did mill one of our own cards into the graveyard. They use it right away. It only costs 1 because of Vadrik. So the Vadrik Lear combo is working nicely. They take the 5. At some point they're going to have to block that. Uh-oh. Here comes the dragon. Kinda wish I had that cut down available now. Okay, dragon's here. And my Oilcaster is dead. Actually, I think all of them are dead. I think he's going to destroy everything I have. And that's game. They got me. That was unnecessary. I think you can attack with all 4 of those creatures, can't you? That's 12 points of damage already. I'm not sure if they bothered to do the math. You got me dead to rights. Okay, they're still playing around for some reason. Well, I may have to go back to the drawing board. We'll do one more, but... it looks like we don't have enough going on. It can seem kind of frustrating. When I first joined Arena, the rogue mill decks were in full swing, and one of two things would happen. They would mill out all my lands, I would never be able to cast a spell, or they would mill all my spells and I would have nothing but land and never be able to have anything to cast. And for whatever reason, I can't duplicate that experience when I make a mill deck and use it against my opponent. No matter what I mill, whether it's lands or spells, they always seem to have exactly what they need. And a lot of times, my milling seems to help them, where I mill their lands when they've got plenty of lands out and they get access to their spells, or they need lands and I mill their spells away and they draw the land they need to cast the spell. But we start again, and we got a mix. And they've got a mix of stuff. Bloated Contaminator, right off the bat. 4/4. Okay, so we'll play this, we'll put down the Celestis, and we'll use Bone Splinter to get rid of that. And hope they don't have a second one right away. I may have to use this right away as well. Oh, look at that. They have exactly what they need right away. And the bad spell that I said is really an ineffective spell. Doesn't do me any good. So all I can do is go in and make sure they don't have a third one. They have Audacity, Cami, and Zoprendel. Yeah, Zoprendel's going away. That thing's disgusting. They could have cast that next turn. And they have an Ozolith. Lovely. Nothing that I have is equipped to deal with this now. I already used what I had. And now it's just going to get more and more out of my range. And we don't get anything that we need. Didn't even get any land. Talk about worthless. Ashnod's Intervention and Dreams of Steel and Oil. Ugh. We milled away some land for them and they still ended up with more land than we did. If I got... No, it's not enough, is it? Can't they just bring this down and put a counter on things? They can kill me already on turn 6. Why are you thinking about that? You could play Audacity too. You've got 2 different ways to kill me. That was the only thing you could have done that doesn't kill me this turn, right? Or no, okay. No, wait. That can't attack me this turn. Why would you do that? It's okay. I don't have enough mana to cast the board wipe, even if I got the board wipe. But that was, I guess they're just showing off all of that. All that they can do real quick. That is pretty good to get that many counters. Alright, not every idea can be golden, people. We'll go in and show you the deck one more time. Not only don't take this into ranked, but maybe you don't even want to make this one. It's just not a good winning percentage at all. Sometimes you win your first battle and you should quit there, right? And just pretend everything's okay. But you see some of the problems that we had. I mean, it's not necessarily that this is a bad deck. I actually had... I did have a number of wins when I was first putting this deck together. The things that we never got shielded out at all, and we never got to use our 3 passive peril, which in the old days, those used to come up with a lot more frequency. For me to go this many games in a row without even seeing one is very strange. It's like the deck has decided what it's going to give me and what it's not going to give me, and it did not give me the right combination of things that I needed in the right order. And I don't know if that's a conspiracy or not, but for it to happen so consistently is kind of unusual. So it's very strange for me to have an even poor showing when I decide to start recording after I've been playtesting for a while. Usually, if anything, I have some bad playtests and then I decide to go ahead and make a video for everybody, and I often sound pleasantly surprised because the playtesting went so bad, and suddenly things are going so much better. In this case, it's the reverse that happened. The playtesting was kind of good, and here it looks like a disaster. So, but leave me some comments and let me know what you think. And as always, like and subscribe. This is Travis signing off for Tpull's Corner. We'll have something new for you next time. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.